This is Adam Eliyahu Berkowitz, Prophecy News Talk, Breaking Israel News. I'm here with Annelie. I'm sorry, what's your last name?
Enochson.
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 And she is a long-time prominent Swedish politician from the Swedish Parliament. And she is also a long-time lover of Zion, friend of Israel.
That's true.
And she does this because of her religious beliefs, something she learned from the Bible. And we've come up here to the Syrian border, since I live in the Golan, and she came up to the Golan for the first time. And this is not my first time up here, but is this your first time up here?
Absolutely my first time.
And if we take a step up here, we can see that, and my good friend Stefan Shaul arranged all this. He's actually a very powerful spokesman for Israel from the Golan. The Swedish people, I don't know, would you say that they are pro-Israel or not pro-Israel?
I would say that the Swedish people in general are not pro-Israel. But I would say about the Evangelical Christians, they are pro-Israel. And that's the thing that you have to understand here, that because you get the news, you got the media, and the media is pro-Palestine and anti-Zionism. They are, I'm sorry to say. And that's the thing you read. But amongst the Christians, the Evangelical Christians, they are pro-Israel. And this group is growing a lot.
Those we're going to take here. Those we're going to invite here.
You can take away what you would like then. I'm telling you what I think.
Okay.
And it's up to you to take away.
This isn't Syria, is it? I think Syria's over. Oh, that's Syria. So if you see, that in the background is Syria.
4 kilometers away.
4 kilometers away. Before we leave here, I'd personally like to say a prayer for the Syrian people. As I was telling Annelie,
Yeah, me too.
it's you should know, and I'd like to say this: there is absolutely no hatred in my heart for Arabs, for the Palestinians. We want peace. That's the ultimate goal. It's also something that God promised us, and I'd like to see His promises come real. So,
and I'm very thankful to that here. I mean, when I've been here before here in Milan, it had been as a member of parliament. You go up here from Jerusalem, you go with some Knesset people, or you go by IDF. You take a look at the border to Lebanon, maybe up to Syria, and then you come. This time we are staying here. We're staying 2 nights. I go to see Catherine, I go here to Joy. And as soon as I come out from the car, I felt the smell. And the smell for me was like Sweden. In that sense that it's clear, and it's not dusty, it's fantastic air. So, I mean, this Golan High, I think, is one of your hidden treasure that you should be very proud of to have. And I would like you to invite the rest of the world to see it.
I would love that.
And I think you can do it in the way that you maybe started to do trekking. And one thing I think you should do, it is that if people coming here to Israel, they see a lot of stones, they see a lot of buildings, they see a lot of churches. And after you've been there several times, you've seen Jerusalem, Nazareth, you've seen everything. But you never come into the skin of the people. Who are the people? Why are they celebrating Sabbath? You can read the Bible, you understand, yes, that's it. But what are they doing and why? So I think many people are coming here, especially if they love Israel and if they are Christian or non-Christian, but as long as they love Israel. I think they would like to know the identity of the people here. And I think if you come to live in Golan, I believe you're a special kind of people.
Israelis are not so easy to get to know.
No, and therefore I think...
We're kind of thorny on the outside.
But I think therefore, I mean, if people come up here, an idea would be that they can stay for Shabbat with some Jewish family to celebrate it, just to see what it looks like. It doesn't mean we want to be Jewish. You are Jewish. I'm a believer in Yeshua. That's what I'm doing. So I think that's different.
Amen.
But I would like to know, because you're the road. We don't say Old Testament. We say the Common Testament.
Oh, really?
Yes. We have the Common Testament. Then we have
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes.
I'm going to take that one. I like that.
The Common Testament, yeah. So that's why I think if people come up here, because it's close in Jerusalem, and it's close here and it's close here as well, but you can come in and learn a Jewish family. I think that's a broader spectrum. And I think people coming to Golan, they are special. Otherwise, you should never come up here. So I would like to know the Golan people a lot more.
Oh man, we're interviewing. I'm sorry, you,
Hiliana.
Hiliana.
Ja. Yeah.
And what's your last name?
Mamarush.
Mamarush. She's an advocate, a lawyer, as we Americans say, from Sweden,
Yes. Also a theologian.
and also a theologian.
Yes.
And you're in Israel for what reason?
I'm in Israel. First of all, we had a board meeting for the NGO that we have in Sweden called Shalom over Israel. It is an organization that supports Israel and also supports different projects. And also in Sweden, we communicate good things about Israel, trying to. Yeah, it's uphill, but you know it's uphill, yeah. I know, but
It's the absolute. It is so uphill, not only in Sweden, unfortunately.
But anyway, we've been around since 1936. And,
Wow.
Yeah, and then it was not Shalom over Israel because it was not. Because then it was Friends of the Jews or something like that. The organization's name was that, supporting Aliyah and stuff like that. So it was a long time ago. So, but nowadays we have conferences in Sweden and we have materials in Sweden and we have we collect money to send to different kind of projects. For example, Syrian Hospital can help me with the pronunciation.
Oh, Sharet Tzedek.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think it sounds the same when I say it and you say it. Obviously not.
That's Sharet Tzedek in Swedish. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so we support them with some children's neurological.
Your English is much better than my Swedish.
Oh, thank you so much.
How long have you been doing this?
The organization.
Advocating for Israel. You personally.
My personally, last few years.
5 years.
Yeah, or kind of 10.
Kind of 10.
Kind of 10.
Why did you start?
The thing is that, okay, to make a long story short, I've always had it on my heart, but I didn't walk it. How can I say that?
I think you said it very well.
Okay. So I started out. When it became too obvious from reading, reading the Bible. It's very hard not. You have to really not to focus on very certain points. But if you kind of see the whole thing, it's very hard to neglect Israel when reading the Bible. It's very hard. You really have to put these very
There are no dwarves,
narrow,
no elves,
it's like you need
no
really
orcs.
have to,
Sure.
No, but you really have to
Oh, that's interesting.
download very, making it very
And there
narrow.
are people who do that.
Yeah, I think so. But if you read the whole, see the wholeness of things, it's very hard to ignore Israel, and it's very
As a
hard
Christian.
As a Christian.
That's-
As a Christian. Definitely as a Christian, and also when reading the New Testament, as we say, not the Common Testament but the New Testament, it's very hard to understand Paul. It's very hard to, if you just say that, the Jews have
I've never read. I wouldn't know.
No, haven't you? You should. Yeah, why not? Why
Okay.
not? I read yours and you can read mine.
I should say that
But anyway.
Annelie a few minutes ago introduced me to a term that I'm going to use from now on because it is the most amazingly wonderful term, the Common Testament,
Yeah.
which is really, that says it all. I mean, it is old, but if anything, the most powerful thing about the Bible is that it brings us all together. So,
And it is a Swedish theologian, Göran Larsson, that came up with that.
really?
Yeah, the
Okay.
Common Testament. So it's very
Okay.
good. But anyway, that's the biblical point of view why I get engaged. And it's also the historical things, the historical connection
How do you mean?
The historical connection to the land. I mean, there were how many Palestinians? You know, all these. You know, the facts, the historical facts that cannot
What
be
a lot of
ignored
people don't
from
seem to understand, and one of the false narratives that hurts me the most is when people say, you know, the Jews came here in 1947 and took it away from the Palestinians. The Jews were also here,
Yes.
and we
Since a long
never
time.
left since a
No,
long time.
Since a long, very.
As a
very
matter
long
of
time.
fact, I just read a study that showed that 90% of the Palestinians are actually have ancestors that are Jewish.
Yes, I've heard that as well,
which is
but I haven't.
which is one of the reasons why the other Arabs do not like them, because they're ethnically different, and that makes sense. I wrote an article about it. It's very interesting. So to say that there's no and this is something that the UN, we were talking about before, the UN has made resolutions saying that there's no historical connection. It's funny that you make the difference between historical and religious, because for me, the religious is history.
Yes, yeah, it is for me as well. But sometimes it's when communicating with non-Christians. When I communicate with non-Christians and I communicate with non-believers, can I say that? It's easier to communicate. In Sweden, it's easier because Sweden is a total secular country. It's the value of religious argument is very low. So I need to make distinctions between things like that to be able to communicate. From my point of view, I need to do that. Okay. The third reason.
That's interesting.
The third reason.
You're very much a lawyer. That's really good.
So thank you so much. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm so much lawyer.
You
but
clearly
anyway.
win every case.
No. I definitely don't. Okay. I will tell you later when this is not on what I lost in court. Okay. Whoa! Don't like that.
Okay, so we have two arguments so far: the religious, the Bible, the common Testament, and the historical. Okay, what's your third argument? Law. Ooh, that one is the one that they usually say that Israel can't win.
Really?
That's why occupied territories.
It depends on how you. If you want to define things from where it was from the beginning founded. I mean, the occupation theory or the occupation argument was made in a certain, historical setting. Mm-hmm. And if you apply it, then you need to apply it like it was supposed to be applied. But from my point of view, we don't do that nowadays.
So you think that when people say occupied territories and it's like, oh, it's clear that Israel does not have a claim to this, you're like, no, it's not so clear.
No.
That's very interesting.
And also we have Balfour Declaration, we have San Remo, especially San Remo, which makes, because that is international law, that is binding. San Remo declaration, but San Remo agreement.
Which precede the UN.
Yes, and that is clearly 1921 or 22 or whatever it was, 21 I think. It's clearly binding, from my point of view, international law, and it has never ceased. It's
amazing. You're right. That's very interesting. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that it's like they say Israel doesn't have a legal claim, and it's like,
yeah, they do. From my point of view, they do.
That's very interesting. Hi, here I am with my dear friend Stefan Lindström. Lindmark. I have a big problem with Swedish. And I actually know him as Shaul, Saul, King Saul, and he is in fact a very kingly person. Shaul is a blogger. He writes editorials. He's lived in Israel for how long now?
1 year.
1 year, and he moved to the Golan. And he's actually been an enormously strong advocate to Sweden, for Israel. One of the major things he does is to show that Israel is, and the Golan, it's really just a pretty nice place to live, which is because that's what that's what the Jews want, is they want to come here to live and to live nicely. We don't want to have wars. So Shaul, tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're doing.
I'm from Sweden, and in Sweden there are very few Jews. I was brought up in a small town in the middle of Sweden, where everybody lived for 300 years except me. And I had a mother who was a little bit different from others, and it showed up when I was about 13, 14. I realized that she's been in Auschwitz-Birkenau for 10 months, working close, 30 meters from the gas chambers. And
not only was that unusual back then,
no.
It's becoming even more unusual now, since people are actually, as time goes on, the Holocaust survivors are passing away, and people are finding it easier to deny that there ever was a Holocaust, which is, it's staggering to think that people can do that. So the fact that you got that from your mother is a very powerful testament.
I was brought up in silence. I didn't know who I were because my mother didn't talk anything about the background. She was just depressed, living at home. So it was, I even went to Israel one year when I was 20. I didn't dare to ask people if I were Jewish or not, because it was so in my heart that never ever talk about any background. So it was until when I was 30 years old, they realized the second generation were not feeling so good. So the Jewish community in Stockholm invited us, and I went there, and it changed my life. I realized that I was Jewish, and I realized they were killing us not for what we had done, for what we are, Jews. So I went back to my mother. And said, "Now I'm going to live a Jewish life, and now you're going to tell your story."
You just like blew through something that blew me away. That statement, unfortunately, is such a horrible and enormous truth that no one talks about, which is that they kill us not for what we do, but for who we are. And that's the very definition of the type of racism, which is, of course, anti-Semitism, of course, and also other forms of racism. That's the racism that destroys the world. So that's a powerful statement.
Yeah, and I decided to live as a Jew because I realized that the Nazis wanted us to disappear. And if I did not take up the challenge to be a Jew, they would succeed not in the first generation, but in my generation. So that was my view, and I didn't know what it meant to be a Jew. So I went home to my mother and said, well, now the time to tell your story. And it took a few years. And she was not hiding she was Jew because she didn't want to talk about it. It's something called the conspiracy of silence. If you don't say anything and I don't ask anything, it will be silent. But then she slowly started to tell her story, and she slowly came back to the Judaism. She talked, I was always been Jewish. You have to understand that. I'm born in a religious Jewish home. But I was 23 years old coming to Sweden. Nobody knew anything of war. I didn't meet any Jews, and I was completely destroyed inside me. And I didn't know how to live, so she started to live this life. And she started to wear Magen David. She became a member of the Jewish community. And then we went out to start to talk. I was working in the Swedish army, and I took her there to talk to soldiers. And that was the first time, this is the end of the 80s, when she talked to other people, and they were stunned by her story, and she realized that people wanted to hear her story.
I'm sorry, but as an American, that's difficult for me to believe, not to believe, but it's very surprising for me to hear, because you would think Europeans who were closer to World War II, even though outside of Poland, outside of Germany, I mean, all of Europe was involved in World War. So you would think that they remember everything about it. You would think.
Yeah, but Sweden was outside the war. There is a lot of knowledge about the technical way the Second World War was, but the emotional feeling of what it really was about, they don't have any clue. But this is the end of the 80s, and the end of the 80s was the first time where the survivors starting to talk and write about their experience.
The end of the 80s?
Yes, in the end, they were about 60 years old.
40 years, more than 40 years after the Holocaust.
It was like we were in the desert. They were in the desert for 40 years, and it's in the end, in the middle and the end of the 80s when they started to talk and write about their experience. And we, as children to second, and we were, a lot of us were not working well because we were so influenced by living together with such a mother or father who has gone through all these things. So then we started to talk.
Was your father?
No, he is non-Jewish, and he's from the very north of Sweden.
So he's from Sweden, and he
Yeah.
married a woman who immigrated to Sweden.
No, she didn't emigrate. She ended up here. She was locked in a train, and she ended up in Sweden. She had no idea where she was when the door was open, and I thought they were in heaven because for the first time for 14 months she was not number 8162. They started to talk to her in a name. She suddenly became an individual again. And
Wow.
those people stayed because they were so afraid to do anything. And whole of family, except 2 sisters, were killed in the Holocaust. So I was raised up in this situation, and the only thing, she got letter from Israel, and it ended up that she had a sister living here. I had no idea. I had no idea what it was to be a Jew. I had nothing. And it ended up that we started to go out to talk in churches, in the Swedish army, everywhere. And she told her story, and I told my story.
Sorry, just 1 second. I'm sorry, we had to move locations, and Shoal was specifically at a really intense part of his story.
Yeah.
So
You can say also that I got more and more details. She was also working within the gas chambers and right outside the gas chambers. So she had that she survived that, I don't understand. I also have proof. I have a paper from Auschwitz that actually Dr. Mengele made medical experience with her. So what she's gone through is completely blow my mind. But we went out. She died 2002, and I promised her before she died that I would continue to spread the news about Holocaust, about democracy, about the Judaism, Christianity. So I went around Sweden, everywhere, and talked about Holocaust, about to be second generation, democracy, about Israel, and the knowledge is none. And then I was yearning for moving to Israel, but I never thought I really would do it because I have 4 children. I'm stuck in Sweden. But for 1 year ago, we just left, me and my wife, who is Israeli too. We had 5 suitcases, and we went up to Golan, up to Kasrin, and we started a new life, completely.
and we're very happy to have him, I should add. Shoal's great.
And I would say, for me, the circle is closed. My grandfather died in Holocaust. My mother went to Sweden.
Wow.
And I'm back. I'm back to the Jewish country. And this is where I'm staying, and we're going to die here. There's no way back. Yeah. And what I'm trying to do now is building bridge between Israel and Sweden. All my contacts in Sweden, to learn them what is the real Israeli life behind the apartheid. The shit talk about apartheid and whatever.
Do you think Sweden, there's a need for that? I mean,
It's an incredibly big need. There's about 300,000-400,000 like Annelie and Hiliana, who really loves Israel, never been here. To meet a Swedish guy, made all this trip, living up in Bologna for them, really exotic. And I noticed that they're enormous interested in what is it to live in Israel. Why did a Swedish guy, well, not a guy anymore, move to Israel? What was the drive to get here? And that's why they're here. Those people we talked about earlier, they've been up here, but they've never been into a Jewish home. And I think I'm trying now to build a bridge between them and us.
it's funny. Yesterday I saw a meme. Yes, I do know what a meme is. Of a person who goes up to a stand in a university, and the person says, "Here, let me tell you these things about Israel." And the person says, "Wow, I'd like to hear. I've never been to Israel." And the person who says, "Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to Israel either, but it's the worst place in the world." And I think what Stefan is doing is what we really need to do. I've seen over and over again people come to Israel. It's so funny. Last year, a group from Birthright, American college students, came to Israel, and they said, "This is all a lie. They're not showing us the evil, ugly side of Israel." Well, guess what? The evil, ugly side of Israel barely exists. and you really have to look for it and make that out to be all of the picture. They came here, saw with their own eyes, and they believed the lies they'd been told more than what they were seeing with their own eyes. So what Stefan is doing is the most powerful thing in the world, which is we're not saying believe our story. We're saying listen to what we have to say. Look with your own eyes. See what we have to say, see what the other people have to say, make a clear judgment based on that. More often than not, people who hate Israel, it's because they don't know and they're only getting one side.
Yeah, and that is in Sweden. I mean, the Swedish foreign minister is not allowed to come to Israel.
Ooh.
Because of her anti-Semitic
That's
view,
true.
and that she loves the Arab states.
Is she the one, what's her name?
Birgit,
Right.
Wallström.
She actually came, she
Wallström.
actually criticized Israel.
Margot Wallström.
Yeah, exactly. She criticized Israel during the Intifada when, not so long ago, when Palestinians were stabbing Jews in the street, and the police or citizens who were armed killed the terrorist. She said it was extrajudicial execution.
Yeah, but
That the police did not have the right to shoot a Palestinian who was in the act of stabbing a Jew.
But this was actually for 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah, and then she was stopped to get here. And then we had the terror attack in Sweden, and the police shot the terrorist. This happened in the school. And she braced the police and said, "Thank you for making a good job." But that's the way the mindset is of the Swedish way of seeing Israel. So I take the opportunity to show the people who love Israel how Israel really are, and let them come up to Golan, let them see this part of Israel, get to know Jewish people, because I'm there to let them know you too.
So I have two messages here. One is we should all listen to Shaul. Yes, get to know Israel. Please come visit. Talk to Israelis with an open mind. And the second message is to Israelis, my friends, my neighbors, don't be so Israeli.
No.
You have to be a little nicer, a little more sweet. Don't be so Israeli.
But I'm Israeli now.
You are very Israeli. As I said, we're going to pray up here for the people of Syria. I'd rather not video that if you don't mind. It's not the kind of thing I'd like to get views for, but I'd like all the viewers, people who are seeing this, to come together in prayer for the Syrian people. It's not a matter of politics. It's not a matter of our side. This is just there's a midrash that after the Jews came through the sea, the splitting of the sea, the angels began to sing, and God rebuked them and said, "These are my creatures. I created them. I love them. Please don't sing when they die." I had no choice but to do it. So we're going to say some prayers for the Syrian people. I'm not going to video it because I don't want to make like a video out of it. We should all pray for the Syrian people that they should finally be taken care of. Please join in with us. Thank you so much.